finally catch up.
Have you ever met someone who seems warm on the surface, yet emotionally distant at the same time? Someone who laughs with you, talks with you, but somehow never lets you get truly close. It can feel as if there is an invisible wall between them and the rest of the world. You might notice small signs of that wall. They hesitate before sharing personal details. They read between the lines of every message. A simple delay in a reply suddenly feels suspicious. Even genuine compliments are quietly questioned. Do they really mean that? Or what do they want from me? To an outside observer, this behavior can appear cold, guarded, or even cynical. But psychology suggests something very different. In many cases, this distance is not arrogance or indifference. It is protection. For people who struggle to trust, emotional closeness can feel risky. Their mind has learned, often through painful experience, that letting someone in may eventually lead to disappointment, betrayal, or abandonment. So instead of opening the door completely, they keep it slightly closed, allowing connection, but only up to a safe distance. What's important to understand is that this pattern is rarely a personality flaw. It is a psychological defense mechanism. The mind is simply trying to prevent old wounds from reopening. And to understand why that invisible wall exists, we need to look deeper into how the human brain is wired for trust in the first place.
I just wanted to say, I really like your style. It's very unique.
My style? Are you serious? It's so good to finally get everyone together like this.
I know, right? That presentation went better than expected. You did a great job.
You're really setting up.
To understand why trust issues can feel so painful and complicated, we first need to recognize something fundamental about human nature. Human beings are biologically wired for connection. From an evolutionary perspective, our ancestors survived not as individuals, but as members of small social groups. Belonging to a tribe meant protection, shared resources, and cooperation. Being rejected or isolated from the group, however, could mean extreme danger. Because of this, the human brain evolved to see connection and trust as essential for survival. This is not just philosophical, it is biological.
Remember that time we tried to make coffee?
When we experience positive social connection, the brain releases chemicals such as oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin helps create feelings of safety, closeness, and emotional attachment. It strengthens relationships between parents and children, partners, and even close friends. This biological system encourages us to trust, cooperate, and build relationships. However, when someone repeatedly experiences betrayal, rejection, or emotional inconsistency, that same system can begin to malfunction. Instead of associating connection with safety, the brain starts associating it with potential danger. In psychology, an intense fear of trusting others is sometimes referred to as pistonthrophobia, a fear that often develops after experiencing deep emotional betrayal. When this happens, the mind begins to shift from connection to protection. Instead of asking, "How can I bond with this person?" the brain quietly asks a different question. How can I protect myself from being hurt again? So, to truly understand why some people struggle so deeply with trust, psychologists often look back to the earliest stage of human development, childhood. According to developmental psychologist Erik Erikson, the very first psychological task we face in life is something called trust versus mistrust. This stage occurs from birth to roughly 18 months of age. During this period, a baby is completely dependent on caregivers for survival. When the infant cries and a caregiver consistently responds with comfort, warmth, and nourishment, the child's brain begins to form a foundational belief: the world is safe and people can be trusted. But when caregiving is inconsistent, emotionally distant, or unpredictable, the infant learns a very different lesson. Instead of safety, the child internalizes uncertainty. The developing mind begins to absorb a quiet but powerful message. People may not be reliable, and depending on others can lead to disappointment. These early experiences shape what psychologists call attachment style, a concept pioneered by psychologist John Bowlby. Attachment styles influence how we approach relationships throughout our lives. People who grow up with consistent care often develop secure attachment, meaning they feel comfortable with closeness and trust. But individuals who experience emotional neglect, inconsistency, or instability may develop insecure attachment styles, such as dismissive avoidant or fearful avoidant attachment. In these patterns, vulnerability can feel dangerous. Emotional closeness may trigger discomfort rather than safety. As a result, the mind learns to rely heavily on self-sufficiency. A silent rule forms: if I don't depend on anyone, no one can hurt me. Over time, this protective strategy can become deeply ingrained, shaping how someone approaches every relationship that follows. While childhood experiences can shape our ability to trust, they are not the only factor. For many people, deep trust issues begin later in life, after a powerful moment of betrayal that fundamentally changes how they see the world. Imagine handing someone a fragile glass ornament that represents your trust. You believe they will hold it carefully. Instead, they drop it right in front of you. That moment might come in many forms: a partner who cheats, a close friend who spreads private information, or a business partner who betrays your confidence. Regardless of the situation, the emotional impact can be profound. Psychologists refer to this as betrayal trauma, and its effects go beyond emotional pain. It can actually change how the brain processes trust and danger. At the center of this response is a small but powerful structure in the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala functions as the brain's alarm system, constantly scanning the environment for threats. After a significant betrayal, the brain can begin to categorize trusting people as a potential risk rather than a safe behavior. As a result, the amygdala becomes more reactive. It begins to interpret ambiguous situations as warning signs. A delayed text message may suddenly feel like rejection. A neutral comment may be interpreted as hidden criticism. This state is known as hyper-vigilance, a heightened awareness of possible threats in relationships. Hyper-vigilance is mentally exhausting. It is like living with an internal alarm that never fully turns off. The mind becomes constantly alert, searching for signs that history might repeat itself. And while this heightened awareness is meant to protect us, it can also make genuine connection feel dangerously uncertain. Once chronic mistrust takes root, it rarely stays passive. Instead, it begins to shape how a person interprets every interaction around them. Over time, the mind can fall into several psychological patterns that quietly reinforce the belief that people cannot be trusted. One of the most powerful of these patterns is confirmation bias. The human brain naturally looks for information that confirms what it already believes. If someone carries the deep belief that people will eventually betray me, the mind will actively search for evidence to support that belief. Small mistakes, misunderstandings, or careless comments suddenly become proof that the suspicion was correct, while years of loyalty and kindness may go almost unnoticed. Another factor is negativity bias, the brain's tendency to remember negative experiences more strongly than positive ones. One painful moment can overshadow dozens of positive interactions, making the world seem far more hostile than it truly is. These biases often lead to something even more damaging, a self-fulfilling prophecy. When someone expects relationships to fail, they may unconsciously behave in ways that push others away. They might become overly suspicious, withdraw emotionally during conflict, or constantly test the loyalty of the people around them. Over time, This defensive behavior can strain even the healthiest relationships. Partners may feel distrusted, friends may feel emotionally shut out, and connections begin to weaken. When those relationships eventually break down, the person with trust issues may feel validated. "I knew it," they might think. People always leave. What they often cannot see is that the protective armor meant to guard their heart may also be the very thing suffocating the connection they long for.
Why are you shutting me out? We need to talk about this.
Healing from deep trust issues does not mean suddenly trusting everyone you meet. That is not healing, it is naivety. Real healing is learning how to build earned trust slowly and intentionally. The first step is recognizing where your fear comes from. The people in your present are not necessarily the same people who hurt you in the past. Learning to separate those experiences is essential. The second step is taking small emotional risks. Instead of opening up completely, you share something small and observe how the other person responds. Trust grows not from promises, but from consistent actions over time. Most importantly, you begin to build trust in yourself, the confidence that even if you are hurt again, you have the strength to recover. If this video resonated with you, consider subscribing for more psychology insights and share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone else feel less alone.
That presentation went better than expected.